Good evening. I'm Kevin Wenning. This is one of my lessons learned for those who are just starting out in photography. I'm doing a series on things that I had a hard time finding information on when I was starting practicing photography. So hopefully this is useful to some folks. This is, let's see, as far as, when you start out in photography, you feel like there are millions of things that you have to learn. And every time you take a step, there's 10 new things that you have to learn. So as far as a rating on something that you definitely should know about, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a 4. Definitely not something that you have to do, but something that I felt like was necessary to research. There are companies out there that provide this, and I'm talking about digitally watermarking your images. This is all about using Digimarc, and I'm going to try something new this year called Ascribe.io. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into this. I've got a lot to cover, but I'm going to hopefully do it real quickly for you. So the problem that I had was... there we go. This is an image that somebody stole from me and basically claimed as their own. As you can see, it doesn't have a watermark, a traditional watermark over the top of it. I like to not put my name or logo big over my photos because I just think it's hideous. Plus, I like people to actually enjoy my photos and reshare them. So putting a watermark over them obviously defeats that purpose. Anything that you share online digitally can be stolen, whether somebody just takes a screen capture of the image or if they're going to actually right click and save image as, which everybody knows how to do. It's not hard to steal somebody's image. And then if there was a watermark down here in the bottom corner, anybody who's halfway proficient with Photoshop can take that watermark out really quickly and easily. So I'm trying to find a couple of other ways for people to identify that the photo is mine, right? So the company that I started using about a year ago was called Digimarc. Last week I let my subscription lapse, and I can't go into all of the inner workings of it and show you because it doesn't exist anymore. So this is a quick explanation. I paid $100 a year for this subscription, and they allow me to digitally embed a watermark on the image. So what is that? Let's show you that real quick. So I'm just going to draw a quick gradient across this. As you can see, this gradient is nice and smooth right now. Hopefully this translates well on the video. I'm not too sure. I'm doing this at high res, so you should be able to see the difference here. So this is just a standard image, right? And if I go to Filter, Digimarc, Embed Watermark. Come on. Embed Watermark. It's going to, if you personalize it, it will put your own unique ID in here. Durability just means if somebody's going to right-click save and reshare your photo, or if you upload it to Google, Facebook, Twitter, they resize the photo and they down-res it in order to reshare it across their social networks, that watermark will be more durable if you put this higher. So let's see what happens. That's very high. That doesn't usually happen on an image, but since this is a very simple image with not a lot of busyness going on in the pixels, I got a really high watermark. So you can see there now it's got a noise signature across the entire image, especially right here in the midtones. You see a lot of noise. So that is the digital signature that it puts across the image. And I'm going to revert that just for a second. So watch the image. There's before the watermark and there's after. It's very faint. And when you digitally watermark an image, here's the image that Digimarc says it found that I put a watermark in. And you don't really see the noise signature in here. It's not a great photo to start with, but it's nicely exposed. So the digital watermark is hidden here in the shadows and in some of the highlights. So just viewing it at a distance like this, and if you zoom in, you'd be able to see it, but at a distance you don't. So that's the point of a digital watermark. It doesn't really, it doesn't degrade the quality of the photo. So what is it supposed to do? It is supposed to do this. Digimarc has been searching all of these websites, and it found one of my images that I have this digital watermark embedded on. Well, over the last year, I did a test with 150 photos that I embedded this Digimarc on, and what it's supposed to do is crawl every website that you shared those photos on, which I share photos on Google, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Flickr as well. It's supposed to crawl all of those sites and say, hey, I found your photo with this digital watermark embedded. So out of those 150 photos that I shared last year, it found one of those. The service that I was paying for was for it to tell me, where are people sharing your photos? Which is what I wanted to know, right? Are people sharing my photos, and where? Where are they popping up? Where can people buy them, or has somebody used them without my knowledge? That's the whole point of it, right? It's not doing a very good job. So I had to go hunt this down. I just wanted to find out where it is. I found it here on photopin.com. I also found it on, here we go, Flickr Hivemind. A couple of websites that resell and reshare Flickr photos. Now, I do share my photos with a Creative Commons share alike, so people can use them on their blogs, use them for nonprofit purposes. However, that is a non-commercial license. People are not allowed to resell them. So if we look over here on Photopin, they're allowing people to download this for free. People can purchase these photos for $1. Okay, I would give this photo to you for free. Here is a little bit of metadata that they or HTML that they let you embed on your website if you're using this to point back to me, and that points back to my Flickr site. So that's cool, right? However, the goal of this Digimarc thing was to be able for me to look up and see where all of my photos are being shared all across the internet. So let's look here at what I wanted to show you on this is I downloaded my own photo just to see if the Digimarc was still in there. And here's what happens when you do that. So I'm going to open this photo in Photoshop. And here's part of the problem with Digimarc. Nobody would know that this is my photo unless they knew to pull it into Photoshop, go to Digimarc, filter, read the watermark. There's my ID. And here's the part of the problem too with Digimarc. I asked them last year, if I cancel the service, are people still going to be able to find out that the photo is mine? This is the web lookup that when people click on that link that says, hey, here's who owns this photo. Well, it used to direct them to my website. Now it directs them nowhere. It just directs them to basically a 404 page for Digimarc. Come on, man, that's crap. I had talked to one of their salespeople when I purchased this, and I said, how durable is this? Am I going to be able to find my photos? How many photos a year can I watermark? And the next step up from the consumer $100 level was I could watermark or Digimarc 2,000 images a year, which is in the ballpark of maybe what I publish a year, and that was going to cost me $8,000. No thanks, $8,000. So that's basically at the level of like a Getty or a Corbis Images, where they're embedding that Digimarc on all of the photos for all of the artists like myself. If they're reselling my photos, they want to be able to track that and claim image rights and track somebody down and make them pay for those photos if they're using them illegally. So at a business level, absolutely, that makes sense. For an individual like myself, no, really doesn't make sense. So that's definitely a problem for me. Let me move on to a separate image here. This is another image that I watermarked last year, Yulong Bridge. And if you look down there on the bottom left of this window, this image is embedded from my SmugMug site. Now, when I upload things to my SmugMug site, it has all of the metadata that's fresh off my computer. It hasn't been reshared or degraded at all, which that's why I embed here on my website. So I downloaded this one, and I leave right-click Save Image As on my website so people can copy the image and reuse it, which is my intention. Here is that. So here is that image from my website, or rather from my SmugMug. Pull it in here, Digimarc, read watermark. It shows up. Still no indication that it's my photo. It has an ID on there that apparently doesn't go anywhere anymore, but the Digimarc is still in there. So if I were still paying for the service, somebody could look it up and say, hey, Kevin owns this photo. Now here's another place that I found this online. I used to share my photos on Panoramio. Sometimes I still do. I don't have as much time anymore to upload them there. But this particular image I shared on Panoramio. So right-click, Save Image As from Panoramio. And let's pull that one in and see if the watermark shows up there. Filter, Digimarc, read watermark. Wah, wah. Not found. So not only does it not tell me where all my images are being used, it's inconsistent. That image was shared, again, fresh off my computer, but just because Google down-resed it a little bit, resized it in order to share it on their services, it destroyed the watermark. So useless. So I don't know, maybe just the consumer level doesn't really do much for you. I know a lot of people use it. It's been out there for years, which is why I gave it a try, right? But it just is not doing the job for me. Basically, it's pointless as far as I can tell. So I canceled my subscription. Not going to be spending that $100 this year. This is straight off of Panoramio. Same thing here. They basically stripped out my digital watermark on that. So the service that I'm going to try out this next year is right here, Scribe.io. And basically, when you upload your images, it gives it a unique ID, and then it creates a transaction on the blockchain. I'm not entirely sure what that means. As far as I can understand, they do a Bitcoin transaction, and it's not active right now. It's dormant because I haven't transferred that license or this ID to anyone else to give them property to use, permission to reuse my photo. So that's what over here in Ascribe, when you create editions, that's what you're doing. You're assigning somebody permission to reuse that photo so you can resell it, or treat it like a piece of art where you're giving somebody the permission to display your art. And then that essentially is the ID. If you are giving somebody those permissions, creating editions, and then you find an image outside of those editions that doesn't have a edition mark on it, if you will, then you know somebody's using it illegally. Sounds like a good idea, right? So I uploaded a handful of photos last year, and Ascribe does have a pretty good FAQ section, tells you here what it is and what it isn't. The biggest benefit to it right now is it's free, so why not give it a try? A lot of information about what you're assigning to somebody, what you can do with the photos, and then the piece that I'm not thrilled with right now, but hopefully this is coming soon. Can I track if my work has been downloaded or shared, which was what I was trying to do with Digimarc originally. Right now it doesn't exist, but they're working on it. So it's obviously a beta product and still coming along. Hopefully this will be something that I can use and assign people provenance to reuse my photos, and that'll be up to me whether I sell them or not at that point. But at least I know who's using my photos legally or illegally, right? And then finally, the one thing that you absolutely should be doing, and I'll have to cover this on a different video, I like to keep these nice and short. This is what I do with the images originally and what everybody should do at a very, very, very minimum. So I right click on this photo in my Finder window, get info. You can do this view properties if you're a Windows user, and this is going to show you whatever keywords you've tagged the photo with. And I keep it pretty simple, but at least this identifies my name, my website, so people know where to go and find out who the photo was from. Same thing with the Yulong Bridge. I've got some keywords in there for that purpose. So metadata of that sort is what everybody looks for when they're looking for who is the owner of an image. That you can also find. Let's look at that over here in, actually I'm kind of curious because I haven't looked at this to see if this is still embedded in that one that I downloaded from Panoramio. So go to File Info in Photoshop, and it looks like they stripped everything out of there. Doesn't tell them anything about ownership data. So I like to share my photos up on Google. It doesn't look like they save any of my personal ownership info there, which really doesn't make me happy. Let's see what happens with, this is the one from PhotoPin. So they were resharing my image from Flickr. Let's see if they stripped out my personal metadata. File info, they did as well. So it doesn't have any of my personal data in there. I'm going to look one other place. So here's that metadata that comes in from PhotoPin. If somebody follows this link, they could probably find that it's from me if they really wanted to, but it looks like they stripped out all that info as well. So this is a problem that I hope somebody can solve. I was hoping that Digimarc was going to be part of my solution to that, that once somebody right-clicks and saves a photo off onto their computer, those are going to be image thieves. They're trying to steal the photos from you. There's not much you can do to prevent that. From your personal website, however, what you want to do here, of course, is you're going to have social sharing buttons. And then when somebody shares that photo, then it's going to link back to this photo on your website. So obviously the social web is getting much, much better about that. So when somebody shares a photo, it links back to you, and then people can find you more easily. If you if you publish anything digitally, somebody has the ability to steal it. So just keep that in mind. As I go along with Ascribe this next year, I'll hopefully do an update on that. Hopefully it's going to work out a little bit better than Digimarc. But as far as my score for Digimarc, not that great. I'm not going to be repaying them to reuse that this next year. So still looking for a better solution as far as that digital marking of my photos, if you will. So hopefully this has been helpful for some folks that were considering Digimarc or looking at alternative ways to watermark their photos rather than plastering their name across the photo. All right, I'll update you whenever I get to it. Hopefully in about a year. Let's see how Ascribe does. So, all right, have a good night. Thanks so much. See you later.